The snow had begun to fall again, light at first, like whispers from the sky, brushing against the windshield of Officer Daniel Hayes' cruiser as he pulled up to the edge of Red Pine Valley. It was late December, the kind of cold that crept into your bones and made your breath fog in the air. The town, once alive with children's laughter and street vendors during the holidays, now felt like a shadow of itself. Since the factory shut down and jobs dried up, homes were abandoned, and the remaining townsfolk moved slower, quieter, as though even hope had packed its bags and left. Daniel stared at the crooked mailbox in front of him. Belmont. The name still lingered faintly, worn by rain and time. It had been 10 years since the fire. 10 years since that call came in, and he, a rookie back then, had raced out to find a house ablaze and a young family gone. He never forgot the night, how the flames swallowed the farmhouse, how the ash clung to the sky for days. No remains were ever found. The department closed the case, called it a tragic accident, and moved on. But something in Daniel never did. In the seat behind him, Ranger, his canine partner, stirred. The German shepherd, sharp-eyed and highly trained, had sensed something long before they even reached the property. A 911 call had reported flashing lights at the Belmont ruins, possibly kids messing around. Nothing urgent. But as soon as they turned onto the gravel road, Ranger's behavior changed. His ears perked. He whined. He pawed at the door, alert and focused like never before. Daniel stepped out into the cold. His boots crunched against ice. The Belmont house was just as he remembered it, burned skeleton beams, crumbling walls, an empty chimney standing tall like a tombstone. But something felt different tonight. Something alive. Ranger leapt from the cruiser and bolted toward the house, nose to the ground, barking not wildly, but purposefully. He made a beeline to the chimney and began scratching frantically. Daniel froze. That chimney. Back in 2015, the fire inspector had marked it as the only part of the structure that survived. Unremarkable. Solid stone. But now, 10 years later, a highly trained police dog was barking at it like it was hiding something. Daniel approached slowly, heart racing. He crouched down beside Ranger and looked into the old hearth. Nothing. Just blackened brick and charred logs. Still, Ranger barked and growled, pawing at the corner. Daniel pulled out his flashlight and scanned the stonework. That's when he noticed it, tiny grooves in the brick near the base, like it had been moved. And more than that, faint scratch marks on the floor. Not animal. Human. He radioed the station for backup and began pulling away debris with his hands. Piece by piece. Every shift of stone sent dust and soot into the air. After 20 minutes, he revealed a sealed gap. It was barely visible, just a shadow in the wall. But it was real. He cleared more, until suddenly. He heard it. A cough. Dry. Weak. Human. Daniel's blood turned cold. He shouted into the chimney, "This is Officer Hayes. Can you hear me?" No response, only the echo of that faint cough. Ranger whined, nosing the gap with urgency. Without hesitation, Daniel dropped to the ground and began digging like a man possessed. A slab of broken cement gave way, revealing a dark, narrow opening. The smell that hit him next was sharp, mold, dust, and something else, survival. He squeezed into the crawl space, flashlight in one hand, gun holstered. Ranger crawled beside him, never leaving his side. The light flickered across damp stone, webs, and finally, movement. 3 figures huddled in the darkness. A woman, mid-50s, gaunt and shaking. A boy and girl, no, young adults now, maybe 20, but so thin and pale they look like shadows. Their eyes reflected the flashlight like mirrors, wide with disbelief. They didn't speak. They didn't cry. They just looked at him like he was a ghost. He recognized them instantly. Helen Belmont. Ava and Alex. The missing family. They were alive. Daniel fell to his knees and radioed again, this time with shaking hands. "I need EMTs. I have 3 survivors. Repeat, survivors from the Belmont case. 10 years missing. They're alive." The world stopped. As he helped them out of the crawl space, Helen collapsed, clutching Ranger like he was heaven sent. "He found us," she whispered hoarsely. "Your dog. He found us." The media frenzy that followed was deafening. Reporters flooded the town. Headlines screamed "Family found alive after 10 years underground." But beneath the noise, the story was darker, deeper, and harder to swallow. Helen, barely able to speak at first, began to piece the truth together in fragments. Her husband Andrew, a whistleblower against a corrupt land development firm, had been targeted. That night, a hired arsonist had lit the fire. Not to kill, but to scare. But the fire raged too fast. Andrew had only seconds to act. He knew of a hidden crawlspace behind the chimney, once used for storing firewood in harsh winters. He rushed his family into it and sealed it from inside. The fire burned the house, but the stone shielded them. Andrew died trying to dig them out days later. Helen kept his body wrapped for as long as she could before burying him in the dirt below the chimney, marking it with a piece of metal. And then, time. The outside world thought they had died. But underground, they survived. They rationed old canned goods that had fallen into the crawlspace from the kitchen collapse. They drank from rain seepage and melted snow that trickled down. Helen kept a journal every day, writing down memories, names, thoughts, just to remember. Just to stay sane. Years passed. Hope faded. Ava became withdrawn. Alex tried to dig out multiple times but failed. Their limbs grew weaker, their voices quieter. They developed a way of communicating through tapping and soft whistles, since speaking wasted too much energy. Helen said her only prayer left was that someday, someone might hear the scratching, if they had any strength left to make it. That prayer was answered by a German shepherd named Ranger. After their recovery, the town held a candlelight vigil. Helen gave a speech, her voice cracking. "For 10 years, we waited in the dark. And in the end, it wasn't just a hero who saved us. It was a dog. A dog who didn't give up." Ranger was given the town's highest honor. Children came to hug him. Ava and Alex slowly began reintegrating into the world. It took months of therapy, rehab, sunlight, and love. Ava couldn't walk more than 10 steps at first without collapsing. Alex feared crowds. But slowly, they recovered. Helen's journal was published as a memoir called 10 Winters Under Stone. It became a national bestseller. The royalties funded a rescue dog training center in Red Pine Valley, named Ranger's Hope. Daniel retired the next year. He had done what many officers never get to do: bring someone home. Sometimes, he would visit the Belmonts quietly, and Ranger would run ahead to Ava, who now attended college and volunteered with PTSD survivors. The last page of Helen's journal was inscribed into a plaque at the town library. It read, "We waited in the silence, year after year. And just when we had given up, a bark broke through the dark. Never underestimate love on 4 legs." If this story moved you, if Ranger reminded you why we must never give up hope, please like this video, subscribe to Pawsitive Tales, and share it with someone who needs to believe again. Comment "Thank you, Ranger," to honor this true hero who reminded us that no one is ever truly forgotten.